For the person who's in that hole that feels really desperate, what would their starting point be to try and start building a way back out of that?
Yeah, so assuming they've picked up some big debts as a consequence, I think all the basic stuff we've started to talk about in terms of budgeting. So I think, as I said at the start, it's really important to have someone to walk that journey with you, because that's, I can imagine for your friend, that's a really hard road to walk, particularly when there's probably some shame wrapped up in it, in terms of it's not just something really unfortunate happened. My wall collapsed at home and I had to pay £40,000 to fix it. It's actually, this was something that I did that got myself and my family into this scenario. So there must be some shame attached to that as well. So bringing it out into the open, I think, is a great way, and finding a trusted friend to walk you along that path of saying, let's look at how together we can resolve that. So in that scenario where you've got yourself into some debts, whether they're significant or small, paying off debt is generally a good idea. So, sit down, do your budget and say, do I have surplus that I can allocate to debt? I think there's something quite good around setting yourself a financial goal. I think, I don't know if this is necessarily true of all men, but I think men quite like to have a goal they're working towards. But to have that goal and say, right, over the next 5 years, I want to get that debt paid off, and it can be done, and I'm going to look at milestones and tick it off as I go, and those kind of things. I think that's really helpful. And then as part of the budgeting, if you think about the two sides of it, you want what's coming in to be as high as possible and what's going out to be as low as reasonably possible. So looking at both sides and saying, what am I spending money on? So let's look at my direct debits. What am I spending money on? And every direct debit, do I need it? If the answer is no, actually, as a gym membership that I stopped going to in 2017, cancel it. We've all been there. And then for the ones you do need or you want to keep, can you do them more cheaply? I was looking at our recently our telephone and broadband and TV package, and it had gone up quite significantly over the years, subtly without really noticing. And it got to £70-something. I was thinking, gosh, that's a lot of money. So I then looked at a competitor, I won't name any names, but a well-known competitor, and they were offering exactly the same thing for 45. So I rang up my existing provider and said, look, I'm going to leave because I've got this deal with your competitor for this amount. And they said, okay, well, we'll match it. And all of a sudden, just through one phone call, you knocked off £37. So
a month. Wow.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you look at that and you think, wow, if you did that with every direct debit, are you paying things that you could reduce? You do that 3 or 4 times, you've got £100 a month already going towards whatever your objective is, in this case, paying off debt. So there's lots to think about in terms of squeezing what you're paying. And then all the stuff that's not direct debit, so kind of general spending. Are you being as efficient as you can? Have done a fair bit of work with Christians Against Poverty, who do some really great work in this area. And they've got a clever scheme. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, that they call the cash scheme, which is you take an amount of money that you're going to spend on a given thing in a week or in a month. So this is my shopping money. Now, some people physically take that in cash and spend it, or some people put it into a separate account. And for me, that's a really clever thing to do, because it changes your thinking from, I'm going to the supermarket and I'm going to spend what I need to spend to get the stuff that I want this week, to I've got £65 this week, either physically in my hand or in my nominated account, and I'm not going to spend more than that. And if I get to the till and it's 67, I'm going to put something back. And that's a really clever way, because it changes your thinking about from, I'm just going to buy what I need or what I think I need, to this is my budget. And it keeps things nice and tight. So, but thinking about your spending is a big one.
Yeah, it's really important to track, isn't it? To be aware of what you're doing. I think that's often the first step, isn't it? Just to make yourself aware of what you're doing. Because for some, we perhaps don't know what we're doing. We're just spending, hoping it's going to be there. So it's really good to become aware.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that or found it helpful, please do click the like button. If you're new to the channel, you can subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about all our latest videos. And finally, if you're in a position right now to support Care for the Family, you can do so following the link in the video description. As a thank you to you, we'll send you a load of resources for you and your family. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.